Hi everyone, it's Kathy. I have a new project to share with you. Today's project, we're going to be using the April 2017 paper pumpkin kit, and we're going to create this pretty little floral card. And to create those flowers, we're going to use the acrylic flower piece from the kit. I actually stuck it down with my AGT gun adhesive, and make sure you put the shiny side up. I thought that worked best. And that's watercolor paper, and to get a really good impression, I did stamp it with a foam pad underneath, and that way you get the outlines of that flower, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to color with the medium of your choice. We're going to use this Love and Affection stamp set, and what we're after is that leaf and one of the other pieces there for an accent. I did cut out a mask, and with Wild Wasabi, we're going to stamp out that leaf from that stamp set. So there's that leaf. And you don't have to use this stamp set. You can use any stamp set you have that has a leaf that's proportioned to this flower size. So we'll just mask off each flower and stamp the leaf, and make sure that you stamp the leaf in different directions for each of the flowers. And once you're done that, we're going to stamp out the next image, and looks like we'll call it a sprig. That was Old Olive, and it came out kind of dark, so I used like a 3rd generation stamp. But we're going to change up the color and outline it with one of the green markers here. And we're going to use the Zig Clean markers, and I'm going to rhyme off each color as we go. For the center of the flower, we're going to use just yellow, and that way it keeps you centered and you don't overextend the petals as you color. Now I'm using light pink and pink. And as I was coloring the first petal, it kind of blended in a little too much. There was no contrast. So I did follow through and completed this one flower by laying down the light color and then the second color right at the inside tip of that petal, and then blended it out with the lightest color. So we're not going to be using an aqua brush for this tutorial. We're just going to use the lightest color of the markers to blend each color in. And the trick here is when you're using the lightest color to blend in the darker colors, you're going to have to dab off, just like when you're using an aqua brush. You just need to get that feeling when you need to dab off, because you don't want to spread the darker colors around the entire section of the petals. I did bring in a wine red into the mix because it looked a bit too flat, and that way it gave it more contrast. And for the leaves, we're going to use the pale green and May green. And I had the same feeling with this one. It was just blending in a little too much and it looked a little bit flat. So once I completed that, I brought in the deep green, just added a little bit there, and blended it in again with the lightest green color. Just remember to dab off each time when you're hitting the darker colors. And with the light brown, we're just going to put little tick marks along the edge of that yellow that we colored in, the center of that flower. And then I brought the yellow in again just to soften up those little tick marks. And for the sprig, oh, we're not at the sprig yet. I'm just going to show you again where I colored in the center, and I laid down the medium color, the darkest color, and then with the lightest color, just blended in the rest of the colors. And don't forget to dab off, as once you're touching the darker colors, just Make sure you dab off so it blends in really nice. And then just one more look at that leaf coloring there. Medium color, the darkest color, and then with the lightest color, blend in all the other colors. So it has really good contrast now. Just adding a bit more wine red there. All right, now we're going to move on to that sprig, and we're going to color that in, the little balls with the yellow, and then we're going to dot it with the May green. And for that, the leaf stem, I use the May green, the lightest green, but I did change it to the other green color, the darker green color, which I believe is the May green. And we're coming down to the final leaf where I'm laying down the medium. The darker color, and then we're going to blend it in with the pale green. And see how I'm dabbing off each time I hit the darker parts? And then here's the last sprig where I've pulled out the May green, highlighted that piece or the image, and then I brought in the yellow highlight. All right, so I think we got that piece all colored in, and now we're going to work on the background. We're going to use cobalt blue and Persian blue, so 2 shades of blue. We're going to use a 10 round brush. And I'm going to color this in sections. And I have that paper towel throughout there because if my hand gets wet or if I touch something and it's still wet, I didn't want to contaminate the card and get fingerprints all over it. All right, so I just wet the brush, and now we're just going to blend the pigment onto the watercolor paper there, or liquefy it. And I'm trying to be extra careful and not touch any of the petals of that flower, because once you touch it, it's gonna make that pink run. What we're doing here is just laying down a nice shade of blue in the background. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because that's what watercoloring is. But it kind of bugs me that there's this like uneven white halo around each part of or around the flowers. So I did the best I could to get as close as I can. And here I am getting a lot braver, where I'm just scribbling across the whole card panel there and just dabbing with water and liquefying all that pigment. And it really was a lot of fun. Now, once I'm finished this, I'm going to hit it with a heat gun. And with the Persian blue, I decided I'm going to just scribble it onto my acrylic block and just pick it up with a wet brush and color around each of the images. And I'm not like brushing it on, I'm kind of like dabbing it in parts and places of the around the images, that is. And what I want to achieve here is big blobs of watermarks. But at the same time, I want to create a darker blue around the image. Although once it dries, it does lighten up, but by just kind of blobbing the pigment on the watercolor paper there, it will create some nice watermark um, designs, and it will add a lot of nice interest to the card background. So you're not brushing it on, you're blobbing it on. So as it dries, you can kind of see now it's got some dark blues and light blues and watercolor marks. So it to me, I actually really like that. And later on, we're gonna. Oh, I did cut down that card. I did do it off screen. It's cut at 3 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and we're just gonna stamp the sentiment. I am using the black archival ink, so no fussy cutting out the sentiment this time around. And the panel there is pink pirouette. It's 3 1/4 by 4 3/8. The black panel is from the kit, and it is cut down at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I did take off 1/16 inch on each side. And I did go nuts on the foam tape there, and that way it'll keep that nice and flat on the card there. And I added some bright enamel dots. And that is our card for today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.